Now, what comes to mind when you hear the word powerlifter? Do you think of a giant person with huge muscles who could bench more than you or your own body weight? Now, what comes to mind when you hear the word power athlete? You probably think of someone who can do explosive moves, or would probably think of a gymnast, which are actually considered to be power athletes themselves. But overall, who is actually stronger? A powerlifter or a power athlete? There are many types of training that people can actually go through. To be more specific, there are 4 types of training that someone can do: strength training, endurance training, flexibility training, and balance training. But the most common training is strength and endurance training, whether it be weightlifting, calisthenics, powerlifting, power athlete training, Olympic training, and so on and so forth. I believe it was one day that I stumbled upon a video in which it didn't actually relate to what I'm going to talk about today, but it did mention something about power athletes and power lifters. I don't actually remember what it was about, but it did make me wonder who's actually stronger. Now, a bodybuilder, when you think about it, are people who have huge muscles. They constantly tear muscle fibers with really heavy weight and continue to grow them over time, and over time they also increase their strength as well. They can bench a whole lot more than you and could probably bench an entire person. They rely on heavy weights to increase both muscle and strength, and overall bodybuilders are huge in size with the weight they lift. Other training similar to this would be just normal weightlifting or even bodybuilding. Power athletes are also very powerful as well. They might not use heavy weights, but they use their own body weight as resistance for their training. Power athletes are people who focus more on muscular strength and endurance to improve their fast twitch muscle fibers to become stronger overall. The training that is related to this would be Olympic training and calisthenics training. Both these may sound familiar to one another, but they actually have many differences. Powerlifting is moving weights through space, and it's much easier to progress since you can literally just slide another weight on to just make it harder. Power athletic training relies more on moving your body through space. You only have to use your own body as resistance. In order to progress and enhance strength through this type of training, it would involve you having to do different variations of exercises or doing more reps to overload your muscles. If you don't know what progressive overload is, it's basically adding more weight or adding more reps to increase your strength. Now that you know what these types of training involve, now it's time to actually get into the real juicy stuff. Who is actually stronger? Now we're going to focus on 3 main things: strength, endurance, and overall power. First is strength. Now, powerlifters and power athletes do require a large amount of strength in order to lift heavy weight or their own body weight. Now, powerlifters may be able to lift heavy amounts of weight, but can they lift their own body weight? Most of the time, if you can lift heavy weight, it does mean that you can lift heavy weight, but can you actually carry that much while you're carrying your own body weight? A 100-pound bench press may be impressive, but will it transfer to 30 or 40 clean push-ups in a row? Meanwhile, a power athlete may actually be able to lift heavy because since they're able to lift their own body weight. Now, since they're able to lift their own body weight, they would most likely be able to transfer that strength into a 100-pound bench press. A powerlifter or weightlifter may not be good at calisthenics, but someone who is good at calisthenics or athletic training would probably be good at weightlifting. Second would be endurance. Now, it's pretty obvious that who gets the point for this one. Power lifters rely on low amounts of reps with heavy weight instead of using lighter weight and doing more reps that way. It's a lot harder to hit progressive overload with light weight rather than doing it with heavy weight. Power athletes, on the other hand, do more reps or harder variations to reach hypertrophy. Now, hypertrophy is basically the increase in muscle size based on the resistance your body is facing. A powerlifter isn't used to doing more reps because they don't focus on muscular endurance. Meanwhile, they focus on muscles and power overall. Therefore, power athletes are more on the endurance side than power lifters. However, power lifters have the endurance to hold any type of heavy weight for a certain amount of time, which is actually basically strength. A power athlete can probably do 10 push-ups in the same amount of time a power lifter can do 3 reps of 180. Last but not least, power, which is what I've been mentioning this entire time. Both power athletes and power lifters rely on power to build up their strength. But who actually has more power between these two? Power athletes rely on explosive moves in order to do what they need to do. Take muscle-ups and overall pull-ups, for example. Both require some sort of explosive power to perform it correctly. Power lifters, on the other hand, don't require as much power as power athletes because they mostly rely on strength in order to lift the weight they want to lift. Power also relies on the type of muscles that both training requires. There's 2 things called absolute strength and relative strength. Absolute strength is your strength when it comes to heavy weight, and relative strength is the strength based on what type of power your body has or what type of weight your body can deal with, like pull-ups, or running. The more your absolute strength goes up, but your relative strength actually goes down, which is what powerlifters face. Meanwhile, for power athletes, it's basically the complete opposite. Their relative strength goes up and their absolute strength kind of goes down, I guess. Now, what does this mean overall? Who is actually stronger, power athletes or power lifters? Well, it kind of just depends on the situation. If it were a weightlifting contest, most likely a power lifter would win since they could lift more weight. If it were a push-up challenge, then most likely the power athlete would win. It just depends on the different scenarios when it comes to these two. It also comes down to things like genetics, training, and many things overall. Overall, many of us probably think powerlifting is the best, or some of us probably think power athletes are stronger, but we won't know for sure until we actually put them to the test. Hey you, thanks for watching. You're a legend since you finished this video. How about you click the subscribe button and that like button too? Did you do it? Okay, great. Thanks for watching till the very end, and you have a good day now. See you next time.